What I do is inconsequential. Why I do what I do is I get to shorten people's journeys every day. What I love about our hospitality industry is that it's our mission to make people feel cared for while on their journeys. Together, we'll explore what hospitality means in the built environment, in business, and in our daily lives. I'm Dan Ryan, and this is Defining Hospitality. This podcast is sponsored by Berman Falk Hospitality Group, a design-driven furniture manufacturer who specializes in custom case goods and seating for hotel guest rooms. Today's guest is skilled in all administrative F&B processes, from budgeting and forecasting to strategy and development. He's worked for big-name hospitality companies such as Four Seasons, St. Regis, and Ritz-Carlton. Additionally, he was the co-founder of an events company specializing in event planning and promotion, and he's recently founded La Rencontre. He also has won Youngest Leader Award for the Middle East in 2022, and he's been nominated for many other awards in many different categories. Ladies and gentlemen, Jensen Moonien. Welcome, Jensen.
Hi, Dan. How are you?
I'm really good, and I'm really excited because I think this is the first, you, Jensen, are the first human that I've interviewed while sitting in Dubai. So welcome.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.
The skyline looks spectacular there. I know it's getting later on a Friday night. So I appreciate sharing your experience with all of our listeners in the F&B space, from where most of our listeners are in North America, but we do have a global reach, which is pretty amazing because these podcasts just get everywhere. But I'm really excited to hear about your experience internationally and kind of what you're seeing in Dubai and starting up a new company in Dubai. It just sounds so exciting, but it's always been within hospitality. So before we get into all of that, what does hospitality mean to you?
I think it took me some time to get across it. Working for all those ultra luxury brands, I kind of, alongside of personal things that came across to me, I think the definition of what hospitality to me would be the altruistic way of creating lasting memories. I think the altruistic side of it is really when you're doing something for the guests, or anybody for that matter, it's that you do it without any kind of purpose. And I think as a guest or anyone you're interacting with feel it. So I think that's kind of wrapped up my definition of what I would think would be hospitality in general.
And before we get into your current startup mentality, you've come from like an amazing pedigree of companies. And when I just look at just Four Seasons, St. Regis, and Ritz-Carlton, what do you think, which one of those big companies or bigger companies that you've worked at really changed the way you think about it or perceive hospitality? Or did you always have this innate feeling within you?
I think it stemmed from the fact that I'm from Mauritius, so it's an island where everybody is all about hospitality. We live in very much in a commute. Like people, it's kind of whenever you go to rural areas, people are there to help you out, and it's kind of Mauritius is known for the hospitality. So I was always drawn towards this aspect of this industry because I think it's very much driven by passion. But I think one of the brands that really marked me is definitely Four Seasons. And I think I speak on behalf of all the people who work in ultra luxury properties and hotels across the globe. I think it's a brand that I could really feel that they live up to their values and whatever they mean. I mean, their golden rule is treat others like you would like to be treated. And I think it resonates from the moment you get the interview process to like they really care about this stuff. And I think that's a pure reflection on how the stuff treats the client at the end of the day. So yeah, definitely the Four Seasons has been a big game changer in my career.
And then growing up in Mauritius, how did you find your way to the Emirates?
Basically, I did Vatel, which is a university that kind of have its main school in France, and I was supposed to be doing engineering initially, and then I went for that school summer break, basically before getting into university, and I went into being a call center, basically. And I was very introverted at the time, and I never knew where I was heading to, and I kind of enjoyed it talking with people, and I found a big love for it. I was like, hey, I'm not going to do engineering. I'm going to do something that really speaks to that side of me that I think was coming about, and I really enjoyed it. So there was a friend of mine who went to Vatel. We went there, and then through the curriculum of Vatel, you have to do internship. Like any kind of hospitality studies that you have, there is a big component in internship. And I was given the first opportunity my second year to go to St. Regis. So it was kind of the school that was introducing the candidates um, to the different recruiters and different people. And I went to St. Regis Aliat Island. It was, I think for me, it was a very beautiful experience. It was something that I always envisaged coming from a small island. St. Regis and Aliat Island is one of the most beautiful property you would find, I think, across the globe. I've had the opportunity to work for the best hotels in the world, but it's one of the most amazing resort that is there in Abu Dhabi.
From your experience in going to all these fantastic resorts, what makes that the ultimate hotel or resort experience in your mind from your experience?
I think I speak on the standpoint of view that on a biased kind of point of view, it's something that I really like is history attached to a venue or a place. And I think Century as a brand in itself has a lot of story about how they created the afternoon tea. They brought the afternoon tea back from UK and make it. So the mother of Astor family was the one that, her name was Caroline Astor. So she's the one who brought the afternoon tea tradition from the UK to the America. And she would have what you would call the 300 selected, where she would have the 300 poshiest women of Manhattan, New York, and come and have afternoon tea for her. So she was the one a bit that kind of created that environment. So getting back to why I think initially I love St. Regis is that they have a lot of history attached to it. John Jacob Astor IV was the one that founded the company. And he was believed to be one of the wealthiest person at the time. And he was in the Titanic. So in every St. Regis across the world, you will have a staircase in his memory, kind of representing the Titanic and the elevators in there. So there's a lot of little elements and heritage across it. And I think the St. Regis idea to why this property in itself, it's because it's an immersive palace. So when you walk in itself, you feel that sense of grandiose, and every little details are catered for. They have one of the most amazing beach in front of it. And the clients that you have there's a big component of residences next to it. So a lot of people who are very wealthy would come and have an afternoon tea. They have a beautiful bar called the Manhattan Lounge, where you would have people come and have cigar. And it's very refined, very elegant in that sense. I think usually Dubai and UAE in general speaks a lot about grandiose in a very different aspect. And that was something that mixed culture and together with the brand heritage of what Century represent. And kind of at the same time, in a very beautiful way, kind of represent the country itself. Because the Century just said it has a lot of comments from Emiratis coming in. So they would kind of merge those brand with that aspect of their culture.
So I just learned something, and I've been in a handful of St. Regis's before, most notably in New York, just going to that one often. They have a great bar there, many fond memories. But I didn't realize that there was a Titanic connection. I was just in Belfast last week or the week before where the Titanic was built, and I didn't know that the Astors were on the Titanic and that was the reason for the staircases and all of them. I should know this. I should know this, being in design, like furnishing all these hotels and knowing these narratives. But I think what strikes me the most about what you just shared, and these actually, if I really peel back the onion on this one, more often than not, the most incredible hotel experiences, not necessarily hospitality experiences, but the hotel experiences, are where everyone knows that level of narrative and story about that property, and that you can share that. And so how did you like? How did they drill that into you so that you knew that? Was it part of onboarding? Obviously, it's very important. But I'm able to suspend all disbelief and just believe whatever anyone is telling me. Like if it's a really good sommelier, I will taste the hint of apricot and chocolate finish, even if it's there or not, because I believe. But how did they get you to tell those stories and know those stories so well as a young person who probably just didn't even know any better at that point?
So I think I was lucky enough. I mean, I work in two different centrifuges. So before going to the centrifuge studied in Abu Dhabi, I was in the centrifuge Mauritius, which is for me a very beautiful property in Mauritius. It's basically you have a UNESCO heritage mountain just behind it, and you have a kite surfing spot in Mauritius. So it's one of the most beautiful beaches, and you have the centrifuge that was there. So it's a very, very beautiful property. So I went there, and I kind of initially, even before doing the onboarding, because I remember clearly at the time they wanted to have a certain amount of people come in before they could do a badge for onboarding. So I would walk into the resort and see chandeliers. I would see it's a resort island. I see an elevator next to a staircase where everything is on a flat surface. It's not built up on that. I was asking myself those questions. And I remembered asking a lot of questions about it. I was like, hey, why there is a staircase? Why there is an elevator? And they was like, the elevator and the staircase is kind of the core of what centrifuges is all about. They have different key components that they make sure are there. And yeah, we went through the embroidering, and I was kind of sold this dream of luxury and
Mm,
storytelling, and I loved it. And there is many more stories to it. Like Fienan Pietro was believed. So across all the centuries in the world, for instance, in the onboarding, we got to learn about it. Is that the Bloody Mary that we know today was they wanted to Fienan Pietro was one of the founding of centuries in New York, and he was like, I'm gonna create this cocktail, but kind of make it a bit more elegant to the posh crowd. And he kind of renamed it to, uh, so it was called Red Snapper, and he kind of didn't have that allure to people. So he was like, I'm gonna change it to Bloody Mary and kind of play along with it and tell a story with it. So in across every century just in the world, the signature drink is a Bloody Mary, which is not kind of something you would usually go for. But I would recommend anyone who goes to a centrifuge, go
mm,
to their bar and tell them you'd like to order a centrifuge, and they will tell you a story about it. And usually, what they would do across all the centrifuges in the world, they would add an ingredient to it. So, for example, the centrifuges in Mauritius, they have aloe vera, which is something very common in certain areas of the region, or they would use local rum. In centrifuges, they use za'atar, which is a very common spice here in the Middle East, to kind of give a little bit of touch of that Bloody Mary that was created by Fienan Pietro. So, yeah, I think the onboarding process, and I think an eagerness and a kind of passion that was there for hospitality initially for me kind of wrapped around this whole journey of me understanding all those stories. And I kind of went online and read about it. It's the same, like the world of Astoria has a beautiful story too.
mm. Wow, I just learned about the Bloody Mary too. I feel like I should know these things, and I don't. So, wow, thank you. Um, I want to go. So, how old were you when you moved to Dubai?
I think I moved to the Middle East early in my 20, 20 I was 21, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
And that was to go to the St. Regis?
Yes, it was in the centuries.
Okay, so growing up in what countries have you lived in? So you grew up in Mauritius, and then you went to university. Where?
In Mauritius itself.
In
But
Mauritius.
it's
Okay,
accredited by France. So yeah.
that's okay. And then where did you move from there?
So Abu Dhabi. So I went to Abu Dhabi first, and then I came back to Mauritius to continue my studies, and then went back to Abu Dhabi for a short period of time, and then I got a job in Dubai. I came to Dubai, so it was Middle East mostly. I've worked mostly in Middle East and Mauritius.
So the reason why I'm asking this is I envision as an entrepreneur. Um, I've never been to Mauritius, but I don't know. But I would assume it is more difficult to start up a business in Mauritius than it is in Dubai. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, I think I think in all fairness to it, I think it's anywhere across the globe. It's a melting pot of cultures and people who are here. I've met investors, I've met entrepreneurs who are from the UK, from the US, and different parts of the world. I think there is a big component of in how long can you open a business? It can happen within a week. Like if you have the right documents and everything in place, it just happens so quickly. And all the system is built in such a way that it prones for entrepreneurship in a general, in a bigger spectrum of things. I think everybody is kind of sold the dream of coming to Dubai, of having the platform to create things, and it's true. It's beautiful. I think in Mauritius still have taxes, you still have a lot of different components that you still have to get to the community. You still have to. There's so many political things involved into it at the same time. Whereas here, it's like you have free zones company, you have LLCs, you have a million different ways of making it happen. And I think one of the biggest reason why people move to the Middle East is because of the safety component of it. There is a massive um, kind of aura around it because the government is putting a lot of effort into it, and you can really feel it. I think partners that I have, people that I know, is that you could walk on the street in the middle of the night. You could leave your wallet. I have left personally my wallet in taxis before, and it's just like easier to do business, with such a rigid. Sometimes you would have this allure that, okay, it's kind of too strict for me, but no. But when you come here, you're like, I wouldn't bargain that for anything else because I feel more safe because there is so many component that's kind of bind me in some way. So yeah, I think it's definitely the spot for anyone who wants to open a company.
So you're on to your second company now, La Rencontre. My French pronunciation is horrible, so say it the correct way for everyone, please.
La rencontre.
La Rencontre. Um, Tell us what you do.
So basically, I had a very varied experience within UAE. So I kind of was dealing with nightclubs, with high-end venues. We were bringing international DJs, hosting these big parties, overlooking some Michelin star restaurants. I had beach club experience, so it was quite of varied in terms of what expertise I had. And I kind of understood the market very well in that sense. So there is different components of what we do. We help and assist people of opening their restaurant. So there's lots of investors that come to Dubai wanting to open the restaurant and not particularly understanding the framework. So what usually happen is that you have international brand that works everywhere else, and they believe that the market in Dubai is the same. But once you come here, it's a completely different ballgame. It's a whole business in itself on how a restaurant operates. So you would have what they call PRs, promoters, and the right production companies, the right clubs that you would associate yourself with. So I kind of tied it up. I said I built up my network, and I have this very good connection with a lot of people within the industry that does all of this. And I was kind of helping the restaurant that I was working for. In that sense, I was like, hey, I have all the components and I've opened a company before. So let me just make that happen. And that kind of mushroom it. What we do is a consultancy, which is the conventional one, which is basically you have a restaurant, you're struggling in terms of your footfall, in terms of your revenue. So we would come there and kind of assess what is going on, how we can change it, get your retention in, get all those things lined up. And then on a different side, what we do also, we help investors do the concept development from A to Z and assist them through it. I think what there is a big need currently, which is where most of our leads are coming from, is that there is over 30,000 outlets within UAE, and there is continuously restaurants opening, and you have over 250 of them that are closing within the month. And I was kind of shocked hearing those figures because I was like, hey, there's an influx of people. And I think it's not an oversaturation of having too many restaurants, it's not knowing how to run them. So what will happen? You have a lot of pre-opening phases, which doesn't go the right way. So if you don't nail it on the right way in the first time, this is where the issue lies. So if you don't associate yourself with the right people, if you don't create a concept that will work within Dubai, it doesn't work. So what we do, we assist them with what we call an interim GM, someone that would be there acting as a GM in the pre-opening phase and making sure everything is right from the get-go. And that is something that we do altogether.
And do you feel that that pre-opening phase to make sure that when they open the doors, you're on the best, most solid footing. Is that your favorite part of the challenge of opening a business or opening a restaurant?
I think honestly, it's the most difficult one. It's hands down. I think there is people who don't really get, like me also before doing a pre-opening, I was like, why is it valued so much with people having pre-opening experience? And the first pre-opening that I did was a 2 month stretch of hours putting in the work, working with the designers, having, and especially if the restaurant is connected with a hotel, the hierarchy to get things approved and to get things rolling out is very difficult.
Jensen, the reason why I'm asking is, in my experience, just doing so many hotel renovations, obviously there's always a general manager at every hotel if it's a renovation or a new build. If you were to talk to 100 general managers of hotels, I would say 85 to 90 of those 100 hate the renovation cycle, right? Because they're basically it's very disruptive. It's a pre-opening all over again, pretty much. But there's those 10 that love it and thrive in it. And when we first spoke, I was very surprised that like this is your superpower. But you said something earlier that I didn't know when we first spoke, that you started off as an engineer, right? You started studying engineering.
So basically my studies were, I mean, in high school I did engineering and physics, and that was what I was meant to go towards.
Hey, everybody. We've been doing this podcast for over 3 years now. And one of the themes that consistently comes up is sustainability. And I'm just really proud to announce that our sponsor, Berman Falk Hospitality Group, is the first within our hospitality industry to switch to sustainable and recyclable packaging, eliminating the use of styrofoam. Please check out their impact page in the show notes for more info. Now that makes so much more sense to me, because you're like the puzzle master trying to figure out all this stuff. And as much as you have a plan of what a new business, a new restaurant could be, from just the people to the contractors to the chefs to the kitchen equipment to the lighting to everything that goes into opening that hotel, or I'm sorry, the restaurant. Most restaurateurs or restaurant managers, they like managing the restaurant when it's open. They don't like that original, that the pre-opening part. And I think that that's a really interesting niche, because it's also so critically important to make sure that it gets off on the right foot. And to hear that 250 restaurants are going out of business every month in Dubai is crazy to me as well. But it's also a lot of churn. So you always there's so much competition to come up with the newest and the latest and the greatest. Has that idea of the puzzle master, or figuring out or how to build that perfect mousetrap, has that been a theme throughout your entire life?
I think I love creating. And I think, I mean, getting back to this 250, I think the component is not, there is not enough people. I think it's just not creating the right concept. And that is, I think, the foundation of creating the groundwork. Like what I really enjoy in creating a concept is kind of building an identity around it. So luckily enough, the first restaurant that was built on the Palm was a beach club that I helped assist with. I was part with, I mean, the team had, we already had consultant and people coming in and exploring the ideas, but I love the fact that we were part of the storytelling, understanding it was a Mediterranean, it is a Mediterranean restaurant, but it was like picking the right flowers for the garden. We had a small garden area and telling a story how it's related to what we are doing. We had dream catchers in the back, and that's part of the storytelling, designing the uniform and getting in there. It's part of today when I'm walking back there with whether it's a guest or someone, I'm like, hey, you know, the story behind this is that, the story behind this is that. Funny enough, there's a wind sail in that beach club on the Palm. It's kind of a design element that kind of mimics the waves when there's a wind that chimes through it. And that was something that was kind of similar in Costa Novarina in Greece. So I had to went online, understand how those wave patterns work through, and then speak with the people that were making those textile fabrics and tell them, hey, we want to mimic that, you know. So I think it's been part of that creating aspect that I love, but also seeing it work and function and having you were there when there was nothing on the groundwork, and you had the investors were there, the people, the head office, and people were like, "Hey, it might not work, it might not work," and you put in the effort with the team. And then a few months down the line, you have 300 people partying and having the time of their life in that restaurant. I think I love that aspect of building something. It's more of a marathon than a sprint. It's really getting there. I think that's entrepreneurship in itself, and I think that's where I learned that I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
I've been to Dubai many times over my career. Well, maybe not a handful. Um, to me, it's also has a very similar. Even though there's no, I don't think there's gambling yet, right? There's no gambling in Dubai.
It's gonna start very soon. So
Okay.
you have you have the Win that's coming to Ras Al Khaimah.
Okay.
Uh, so there's a big development happening there.
Well, my point was it just it even without gambling, and even if it's coming, it just seems from on the hotel side of things, just very almost Las Vegas like in the sense that so much capital flows in and they want to create these dream like experiences and completely over the top experiences. And I would assume that much in the same way we're Las Vegas. One interesting thing about Las Vegas, and I don't know much about F&B, except I like eating at good restaurants, is that a lot of really great restaurants that have a good story and a really proven track record, even if they have one location, if they're really popular in a city, they may go and try doing it in Las Vegas at a larger scale. And that requires a lot of institutional knowledge, such as well, what made that one restaurant special and how to keep that specialness as it scales to like maybe 4 or 5, 10 times the size of whatever the little restaurant was in whatever city. I would assume that that's similar in Dubai, but maybe more globally. Restaurants that are successful globally, they may want to put a footprint in Dubai, but it's very difficult to navigate. So walk us through like a dream scenario of a really successful small hotel that wants to dip their toe in Dubai. Like what how does that process work for you as far as finding that restaurant or if they find you? And then how do you help them along that life cycle to have success once the doors open in Dubai?
So I think you touched a few very interesting points here. It's just that I think people have this idea that a concept that has work in Saint-Tropez or New York, or because of the name that it has built, yes, it has a weight to it. But I think what happened is that you have so many brands and so many high profile or like you name it, you have the Nobus of this world, you have the Hakkassans, you have everything here in Dubai. And that is a market that is, you name it, you have all the brands here, all the top Michelin star restaurants and everything that you can imagine, from the biggest nightclubs to going to the fast casual restaurants to everything basically. So the main component of it is understanding your framework if it resonates with the clientele of Dubai. What happened is usually, for instance, is that you will have a lot of three-star chefs who come to Dubai and want to open their restaurant. But it's kind of, if you don't have a component of party in it, or a component of festivity to it, or something within that ground, it's kind of die off, because it's hard for you to build a retention on those kind of concept in Dubai, unless you built it in such a right way. So there is a big concept that is happening at the moment, which is dinner that merge into a party. So they are called dinner shows, basically in Dubai. And you have restaurants that have been doing it for quite some time in Dubai, where you have a proper seating for dinner and then it gradually turn into a party. You have places like Bagatelle that do it very well, that has been established a long time. You have Zuma that is turning into it. So it's understanding this, because people today, the nightlife, like few clubs are kind of, some of them are working, but most of the people are going to those kind of party where you have a one-stop shop for everything. So you would come, have dinner, experience a beautiful kind of synergies between wine pairing and all those things, and then it will turn into a party. So that's what I would identify if their consent if the concept resonates with the clientele, because you have to understand the target market and the placement where it is placed. So you have strategic places like the AFC that works very well. You have different location, but then again, it's what type of brand and how it works out. You still have brands today in the AFC and on the palm within that doesn't function. So understanding those is very important. And if it's opening on its own or within a hotel. So I think it's a very complex kind of feel in itself. You have so many factors that you have to account for.
And then, so if you take one of those concepts that work well internationally, but might not work in Dubai, but they approach you and they say, "Hey, we'd love to engage with you to help us take this concept there." What are some of the biggest surprises that you can help them reduce from like a risk management perspective, so that they don't have to kind of reinvent the wheel and lose time and money? But just how do you help I don't know if you have a specific story of someone, but like, how do you get them on the right foot for success? What's your process?
So basically, let's say it's a concept that I think would be difficult for the market. I would understand whether they should opening within a hotel, because then in a hotel, what would happen is that if you get the hype of the brand and people are coming in and out of it, so meaning you have a recurrence of people from internationally traveling. So it's not about building retention, it's about making sure you hit the first impression right. Because every week you will have a different client because the people who are staying at the hotel is very transitory. Now, if you're a hotel that wants to doesn't have a lot of key room and depends a lot on the footfall from outside, the concept should align so that you can build a retention. And that is where I try to understand this. But then again, I'm affiliated with what they call PRs and promoters here in Dubai. So they are concierge company, they are VIP services, they are personal concierge of people who are kind of regrouped, and they would advise clients where to go and dine and where to go and party at the same time. So I'm kind of affiliated with all of those people to make sure we kind of have a certain drive, a certain footfall into the restaurant. But understanding the concept, if it's something that I think would be hard to get implemented within Dubai, is understanding the concept and placing them at the right spot. So if I feel like it's a concept that will build mostly on clients that are coming in and out, I'll open it in a hotel. And if I feel if it's something that can build retention, people would go there and party and have coming every week, that would be something different. So understanding a plethora of things, because you have to understand something at the end of the day is that the F&B business is very tough.
Yeah.
The ROI usually take 2 to 5 years. You have aggregator costs that can span to like 30 to 38%. You have lots of variables in there that you have to account for. And then you have to take into consideration too that there is a summer period here in Dubai that people kind of fly away. Especially if you want a beach club, then you have to have seasonal staffing and kind of work around all of this. So with also seasonal staffing, we are working with certain people that flying to Saint-Tropez during the time, and then they come back here, and usually they bring celebrities and people along with them.
I know, as you're looking out there into the world for people who want to come and do this in Dubai, who would be like a dream client of yours to help introduce to Dubai and help them or set them up for success in Dubai?
I think there is there is basically in Dubai there is very developed concept, I would say. There is groups like Rikas Hospitality, Sunset Hospitality, well established here in Dubai. So rather than bringing a brand that is international, I think is creating a brand with people like us or people like them would be the most ideal scenario,
Mm.
because the concept that might work there might not work here. And with us and these type of established companies, you will have a more of a security than anything else. Again, you can, because then again, because you have issues of uh, having exclusivity deal with certain DJ, for example. One of the most revenue generating venues here in Dubai are the one that has beach club that bring in international DJs. So it's a bit like the Scorpios and Mykonos and those kind of brands that kind of would come to Dubai and would work. But at the same time, you have certain brands who already have exclusivity with certain high profile DJs. So that kind of creates a disparity between them.
Mm.
So understanding all of this, and I think having a brand that is created locally, who understand the clientele locally, even if you're bringing an international brand, it's something that resonates with the client here. Bagatelle has been working well. They're evolving now. You have Gaia by Bulldozer Group. You have a few venues that understood what the market needs, and they kind of building alongside of it. Even concepts that are not born homegrown in Dubai and are brought over here in Dubai, they kind of adapt with the concept. So like I was telling you, Zuma now is turning into that very vibrant kind of party afterwards. A lot of restaurants, if not most of them today, is like they have a restaurant and then a nightclub attached to it.
Mm.
Or within the restaurant, they lay it out in such a way that it can turn into a party.
Bagatelle is really cool. I knew it was always just this kind of brunch spot in New York City. I think that was the first one. And my kids, I think it was all of them. They had their communion, a Catholic First Holy Communion or something. And then we went out for family brunch with a couple other ones. And I think a friend of ours knew the founder of it. And I just knew it as this brunch place. So I remember we all got our own tables there kind of early on a Sunday. And then we started eating. The food was amazing. And then like at 10:30 or 11, like I think drapes came down and the music went up and sparklers came out and people started dancing up on the tables above, and my kids were dancing and our friends' kids were dancing up on the furniture. I was like, wow, that was totally unexpected and completely amazing. It's a really fond memory of that. So I'm glad that they're doing well there, but I wasn't expecting it. That was a great surprise.
I mean, they had the kind of their period of, I mean, they were the one who initiated it, but then they had their period because the place needed revamping at the moment, but now they're picking up again. But I would say in that dinner show kind of spectrum and sphere, you have places like Billionaire, Theater in Dubai. So they are like proper dinner shows. You would have a full-on cabaret and a full-on kind of thing. Like it would, it's beautiful. Like it's really impressive. But again, that incurred a lot of cost into it because to sustain something of that extent, it's like every day you have to pay singers, you have to pay a full show, and usually the type of waiter and waiting staff that you have are very well trained and they know how to upsell a bottle and make it happen. Because for you to cover your costs of just the entertainment would have to be high. So you need to kind of have these high profile people and put what they would call an average pence on the table. So yeah, it's a tough market. But if you understand it and you have the right players in the picture, you can definitely make a lot of money.
And now that you're on startup number 2, what's exciting you most about what you're seeing out there right now? I would imagine, like in the scope of where we are and like capital flows, I would imagine a lot of capital that might be normally flowing to the United States as a safe haven is like, oh, maybe we should hold off there for a little bit and go somewhere else. So I imagine like the fire hose of money is now starting to spread out into a lot of different countries, and Dubai must be on the receiving end of that. So what are you seeing from that perspective?
Yeah, I think there is a big influx of money into Dubai at the moment, and especially with the rest of Kaima, with the casino opening there. Things they had so many real estate on off plan, and it got sold within minutes and hours of them opening. And it's just insane. You have the second Palm that is opening too, which is called Palm Jebel Ali. That's gonna happen too. And then you have the expo area, which is expanding too. You have a new area that has just been opened for restaurant. It's called J1. It's those very, very high profile restaurant beach club that open next to each other. So you have Gigi, Siran, Kaimana, and a few others along the line. They are very, very high profile, high end restaurant. So there is a big need, I think, especially in Ras Al Khaimah, because the amount of investment with the casino and the hype, especially within Middle East, when you think about it, they've kind of evolved gradually with alcohol and allowing different things. But now casino is such a big thing for that part of the world, and they are like heavily investing into Wrestle because the amount of they're projecting, and I've got to meet some of the owners that gonna open there and some of the brands it's gonna be insane. The level of the investment into it is insane, and the footfall that they're expecting. But also at the same time, within the Emirates itself, you have different Emirates that are trying to bring a different kind of synergy. So Dubai is known for this extravagance, and Abu Dhabi is more cultural. So you would have a lot of restaurants that are opening there or based on stories, on very valued things. And Ras Al Khaimah is going to be really the party place at the moment. But Abu Dhabi has the Louvre now. They're going to open a few other like museums and stuff alongside of it. So it really depends what you resonate more and what you want to create at the end of the day.
And it is amazing. Like if you go back, I don't know when, 30, probably 30 plus years ago, to think about Sheikh Mohammed and his vision for what Dubai could become and how this is where like these, like, what would they be called? Like unrelenting visionaries, right? Where they have this idea. I bet you so many people were like, no, it can't be done, never be done. And then you fast forward to today and look at what Dubai has become by his strength of vision. It's really unbelievable, truly unbelievable. And he's older now. I don't know much about him, but he's much older now. But I still feel that he's super active and vigorous, and like it's still making all of these things happen and change.
I think it's an relentless mindset of I think he was on an interview on BBC about like 20 years ago, and he was asked the fact like why you want to make happen so far. He was like, yeah, I want to do it for the community, I want to do it for my people. Why do I have to wait so long, you know?
Yeah. And just support it. It's not just, but it's also just if you're the visionary, but also finding all those other vintage visionaries and bringing them in and setting them up for success and failure. But like, it's embracing the failure, and it's, because each iteration you keep growing and getting better and better and better. And, I don't know, it's really exciting. But Jensen, I know it's getting late there. I just want to say, I thank you for sharing all of this. If people wanted to learn more about you or how to get in touch or learn more, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can reach out to me on LinkedIn. So my name is Jensen Moonien, and they can find it there. And the website and everything is linked further.
Okay, and we'll be sure to keep all of that in the show notes as well. But I just want to say thank you for sharing your experience and vision with all of our listeners and watchers. And if you're watching, or if you're just listening, I would go onto the YouTube to the early parts of this and just check out the skyline behind him. It's pretty magnificent if you've never been to Dubai. But thank you, Jensen. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Merci. And thank you to all of our listeners, because without you, we wouldn't be here talking to incredible entrepreneurs out in Dubai and hearing their stories and all around the world. So thank you. If this changed your mind on hospitality, or you know someone who's maybe considering opening a restaurant in Dubai, connect them with Jensen and pass it to them. So thank you very much, and we'll catch you next time.